It's another beautiful day on Jasiri, another day to slay, and of course to have uncomfortable conversations, which are very essential because they set the tone for a better society for you and I. Today's particular conversation is probably a debate as old as time for many across the continent. Today, we take on polygamy.
Of course, you heard the beautiful one say all that, so I'm going to add to it. Today on Jasiri, we'll dive deep into the realities shaping our society as we discuss polygamy, infidelity, and the rising divorce rates in Africa. Recently, the news of Two-Face and Annie Idibia's separation has reignited conversations about fidelity and the African man's approach to relationships. Adding to this conversation, a female Cameroonian lawyer, Barrister Akwen Njue Teko, has controversially advocated for compulsory polygamy in Cameroon, where Catherine is from. Though it's already legal there, but she claims that it will reduce infidelity, prostitution, and the hypocrisy of monogamous marriages.
Okay. Lola, I see what
you're from Cameroon, so please hold it with your chest.
So, while some argue that polygamy is a natural part of the African culture, others believe it contributes to broken homes, emotional distress, and gender inequality. But is polygamy truly the solution to Africa's marital struggles, or does it further complicate things? Our guests today are not afraid to say it as they see it, and they are not holding back. Temisan, Okomi. Welcome to Jasiri, Temisan.
He's very happy with
this. Look, this is how it should be.
Wow. We have not started yet.
Oh, you haven't started?
Yes,
okay.
please.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
So,
first of all, I'd like to say, Catherine, first time I'm on News Central, has to be this topic.
Oh, wow.
You like my marriage a lot. Like
I do.
Really
I do. So Temisan is not alone. Kathleen Ndongmo, our Cameroonian at Sarodo, as we call her. Finally, we have her here. Bonjour, ma sœur. Bienvenue ici.
The Cameroonian pepper is
Wow.
So we've actually been trying to get Kathleen on Jasiri for a while, and guess what? It's her countrywoman that has now come and defend your constituency. All right, so given that Temisan is the only man on this table, I would have said gentlemen first. But I need Kathleen to lay a foundation regarding polygamy in Cameroon for us. So Kathleen, polygamy is already legal in Cameroon. Take us through some of the conversations around polygamy that have been happening in the country.
So in the first instance, you know, it is legal. So you can go to the courts, and when you're getting married, the first thing they would ask you is it monogamy or is it polygamy? And you have to choose there and then. But the broader conversations revolve around religion and culture, really and truly. You have, for example, in the northwest province of Cameroon, northwest region, you have a chief currently who has 100 wives.
Yep. You said? How many children?
Well, countless. You can never count.
Not good to count the number of
you can never count. You know, there's this story that we used to say when we're growing up, that it is when your father dies that you will know how many of
children.
you exist. So those are the cases they've been making for polygamy. Why should people get to know about their siblings when the dad is passed? Meanwhile, in a polygamous regime, they could have had all those children. Then there's the religious aspect, where part of the country is Muslim. Obviously, their religion permits them to have, but it's already entrenched in law. And then it therefore means that people have full choice, with their full chest, to say, I'm going to be polygamous or not. You even have a sultan in Cameroon who decided not to, in spite of the fact that he could have had more wives. He's of the younger generation, and when his father passed on, he decided. That was one big story in Cameroon a couple of years ago. So the conversations around that also, you know, drive into the economy, and then personal choices and personal. My mom is from a polygamous family, so people would tell you about their own stories, and that's also very, very important.
Okay.
So Catherine, why are you not married to a Cameroonian man?
No, you see, the thing is, if Is it too early on to say? If
You
I had a
forbid polygamy?
plethora of choices, if really I had choices on the table,
Let's shake this table.
Yes,
That
that's what I said. Are we ready? Is it too early on?
ready for that conversation?
So now we've established that polygamy is illegal in Cameroon, but the article we saw earlier is trying to take it up a notch. Not only is this Cameroonian lawyer, Akwen Njoe Teko, writing about the fact that it is illegal, she's also saying it should be made compulsory, right? So she wrote in the article advocating for polygamy to be made compulsory. She said this would help reduce infidelity, prostitution, and even financial stability among women. You've read our article.
Yes,
Temisan,
I have.
and you seem to be very excited about this topic. You literally cannot wait as here, so just let it out.
First of all, I do not believe anything should be compulsory for adults. I have never believed in compulsory-ness for adults. Whatever you want to do as long as it's legal. So don't force me to do it. So if you tell me, you must marry 2 wives, the rebel in me will probably tell, because I'm very contrarian. I'm telling you, I'm not marrying, I'm not even going to get married at all. If you say to me, you must marry only 1, chances I'll say, you know what, I'm going to marry 2. So first of all, let me make polygamy compulsory. Second, I think those things that she said in the article, it will discourage infidelity, prostitution, is all hogwash. Because monogamy or polygamy, those things will exist. Back in the day, it was the polygamous societies, and not just in Africa, all around the world, it was polygamous societies. Every society evolves. There was a time it was polygamy that was the mating dance for societies. Yeah. Then it became monogamy. And I think in many parts of the world, it was with Christianity and when the Roman Empire conquered large swaths of the world, they insisted, you know what, you got to marry 1. So those are different things. So society, whatever is ethical is what society decides to be. If society decides today that women should become polyandrists, in 5 years' time, that's what it will be. It becomes ethical.
The earlier they decide.
Okay, but
You're not seeing the ones doing the
Earlier they decide, because one of the things I was going to say is it takes a woman. This is societal constructs.
Yeah.
It takes a woman to get up and say that polygamy should be made compulsory in a country where it is already legal. Yeah. My question is, what is the agenda behind that? Why is no man getting up to say, oh, polyandry should be made compulsory because me, I want to marry 5 men?
look,
Yes, that's where we're going.
Kathleen, nobody's stopping you from marrying 5 men.
We're not letting it. It's not legalized.
It's not legal.
Have the discussion.
You can get around it. See, but here's the thing, from my opinion, I'm a monogamist. I believe in monogamy, but I also believe in polygamy.
How do those two exist side by side
together?
You can believe in the devil and God. If you're a Christian or a Muslim, you must believe in the devil. He exists.
Okay.
Yeah, so
let me go off book a bit.
Yeah.
Do men struggle with monogamy?
Because if you ask me, if it's more than 50%, obviously, it's general, isn't it? That's the way statistics work. If it's majority, if you put 10 men here and 7 struggle with monogamy, then you have every right to say men struggle with monogamy.
I don't think
Right?
monogamy is what they struggle with.
You think what?
I think
Fidelity?
they feel like they can have, because if you struggle with monogamy, nothing stops you from struggling with polygamy. The person that can have 300 wives and 700 concubines knew what he was looking for. You feel like you can have more. The more you have, the more you want. Polygamy is
See,
not a solution.
you're
The meat is sweeter
womansplaining.
when you steal it.
Yeah, blessing your womansplaining.
I'm not. I'm just saying.
No, you're womansplaining.
No.
You're telling me what I am doing.
No, because
let me tell you what I am doing. Don't tell me, yes, as a man.
From your point of view,
Yes, as
because
a
we
man.
also see what you're doing.
Yeah,
as a
because
man.
I can tell you right now that women cannot have.
You said you told me.
No.
Hang
on. So let me explain. I'm trying to prove a point to Blessing, right?
Okay.
It's like me saying, oh, women cannot be unfaithful because they can only sleep with one man. They have to. How would I know? I'm not a woman. That's what you're trying to do. Now, let me put it this way. Let's start from logic and science first. Sexual dimorphism, right? For every species, especially primates, it shows it's when the 2 different genders or sexes in that species are different physically, physiologically, and all that. Now, amongst us primates, amongst men, when a man stands in front of you, you know. If a woman stands in front of you, you know. Yeah. Because we tend to be bigger, men. Our bones tend to be stronger. Now, among primates as well, men happen to have, we don't have the largest testes or testicles amongst primates, but one of the smallest as well. Now, if you look at science, right, amongst animals that are polyamorous, where one male sleeps with more than one female, testis size is a factor. The bigger the testis size, the more you see in that species that the males sleep with more than one female. The smaller the testis size, you see monogamous relationships, one male, one female. Now, of course, there are exceptions to this rule. So I'm looking at science now to explain this for you.
I love that. She's waiting for you to lie. I'm waiting for you to lie.
Wait, hang on. So I've used science to buttress my point. Second point has to be this. I think men are visual creatures.
And I'm not?
See, remember what I said? Hang on. You know what I tell you just now? Then I'm explaining from a man about men. We are visual creatures. So every man in this world, I think, has what we call, what you like in a woman, a spec. Some men like legs, some men like hair, face, BBL, whatever.
Pockets of chicken.
Yeah. Now, you know what happens? A man, that's why women get shocked when they hear, see this successful man, see his wife, she is beautiful beyond belief. He slept with his housemaid.
Pause. Because that's go for a break soon. But Kathleen, so you have said that is a science.
There's a science,
There's a physiological reason for the reason men want variety in life. I want you to respond because I have some responses.
There is society has enabled, there's so much enabling of men's excesses and then excusing it, and there's a permissiveness that pervades these different,
I love your choice of English.
these different ways that men exceed, what they believe that women will not. And then the same society has withheld women. Remember what Chimamanda said. You have to be and be closed and not, and I can definitely marry 5 men. Totally. I have definitely men back to back to back.
Oh, love it.
He asked that question before, and the way he asked it was interesting to me because he said, can a woman? He didn't say, has a woman. So society.
Does she want to?
No. You see, here's the problem, guys.
The way he asked it just solidifies this societal construct of permissiveness and the enablement of men, such that even in his psyche, he would not think that a woman can or will or has.
Womansplaining.
For him, it's, you just explained man. For science, you said men.
Mansplain.
So
I was mansplaining.
The truth is, I will, and I want to.
Right.
So it's not just a man's thing. Women will do it. Society holds women back while permitting men to do whatever they want to. That is why a woman will get up to say, you know what, let's just make it compulsory. And because we're making it compulsory, Temisan, if we make it compulsory, I will force you, I will marry you and tell you. Wow. Force myself into your life.
You can't even make it compulsory. You can't make it compulsory.
Because that's the conversation we're having.
Yeah, and that part of that compulsory I find really interesting because she leaves all the choice up to men. So because if you're going to make a situation compulsory, especially on a situation where it's polygamy, you're not talking polyandry, you're not talking in any ramification about the other 50% of this conversation.
More than 50%, really.
Or more, depending on the country, you're leaving all the choice up to men. And there's so many power dynamics. We're going to talk, let's take a quick break. There's a lot more for us to talk about. When this conversation continues, our guests are already into gear 1, gear 2. I don't know where we'll be going from here, but stick around. You don't want to miss it. Welcome back to Jasiri, and thank you so much for staying with us. A Cameroonian lawyer's front page call for polygamy to be made compulsory has led us to a conversation here on Jasiri. Our guest today, we have Temisan Okomi, sports editor, and very notorious, you're a monogamist who supports publicly.
Oh, yeah.
He
Oh,
says
yeah.
adults should be left to make their decisions, and we
Absolutely.
have our very own Cameroonian pepper, Kathleen Ndongmo. She's a communications specialist, and her countrywoman has landed you on Jasiri tape. Wow. Just before the break, we got into this science conversation, and Kathleen was talking about how society permits men to do a lot more, and it makes me bring up the nature versus nurture conversation. We constantly hear about nature almost as an excuse and justification for infidelity for men, as Blessings was saying during the break, that they're wired that way. But we forget that nurture is their culturalization, is the socialization of women. So that some people actually think that when a girl is born, she's born knowing how to cook, how to take care of kids, and how to take care of her home. Yeah. So if we're saying that for some reason, nurture can win out for women and nature always wins out for men, why is there a problem in the long run? Because if you're saying science should win, there are many species of animals that are also, is it polyamorous I would use?
Polyamorous?
Yeah, where the woman, where the female of the species sleeps with more than one male of the species.
Hyenas.
But then
The females for hyenas, the females are in charge.
Yeah.
The female chooses.
Even bees, I think.
No, not lions, not lions. Hyenas.
No,
it's a matriarchal.
It's a pride. A pride usually has one male.
One male and several. Among hyenas, the females are even bigger, and they choose the males that they will mate with. So you have to be chosen by the queen.
And it's not only female hyenas that are bigger of the species.
Yeah, I'm just
seen throughout the animal world.
So what I'm saying, look, first of all, I'm trying to tell you this. Science. I was trying to use science to argue a point. I'm not saying science just because even with science you can use it to disprove my point. But here's the thing. We know that statistically, and every species, it happens with every species as well in the animal kingdom, there are usually more females than males. Why? Because scientifically, it's the only way it propagates the species. If you have more males than females, eventually that species will die out. Yeah. So you need more females than males for the species to continue. Now, if you look at China, they had that policy where they said 1 man, 1 woman, and 1 kid. No more than 1 or 2 kids.
It has backfired.
It has backfired because
10, 15 years.
Japan as well, the Scandinavian countries, all of these things are backfiring. So now here, another thing is with science again is 1 man can populate the world. 1 woman can't. So I'm using science, I'm using logic here. Every time a man ejaculates, at least over tens or hundreds of millions of sperm cells, and you only need 1 to conceive. So we all won the human lottery, because when our fathers were trying to get us, there were millions of us, tens of millions of us, but it was just 1 that got in.
there is a balance here.
No, hang on, I haven't finished. A woman brings just 1 egg.
Okay. That fertilizes.
Yeah, only 1 every time, every cycle. Every cycle is 1. It's 1 egg.
But I am of the opinion that one of our, that's not the only thing.
No,
about
I was
us
trying
women.
with science.
Everybody pushes that
You're still saying too much.
Okay, let me come now. Let me leave science. Let me leave science.
Okay.
Let me leave
30
science.
seconds so that we can get to Kathleen and we can continue.
All right, cool. Now here's the thing. It might be maybe I shouldn't say it.
That cow.
I will say it. I will say it. I will say
Because
it.
you almost had your head off air.
I know. Now here's the thing, For every man, right? I was talking about visual creatures. A man is a visual creature. He sees a woman, she has something he likes. Immediately it triggers something in him. I'm not talking about women. I don't know how you guys are. I'm not going to ask
That's
you.
exactly how we are.
Oh, cool. Good to know. Good to know. Good to know. But here's the thing. But here's the thing. A man sees a woman could be selling tomatoes. She's dirty. But a man, she has these lovely legs. And the man likes legs on women. He starts thinking about her.
Okay, pause.
There you go.
Kathleen, because what he's saying to me, I'm hearing a lack of discipline.
No, you're a woman. You're listening as a woman.
I'm translating it to like a Kathleen.
If we call you dogs, they will say no.
It's all of these excuses that are embedded under science. Yes.
You want to
They are
disprove
made-
science now?
Wait,
No,
Temisan, wait.
well, nobody said scientifically as well and biologically as well. Nobody said that women above 40 are more in heat and women in their ovulation periods are more in heat. Nobody goes to that scientific fact to say that women also would, want to have more sex, and after 40, you men are as good as dead. Women are at their peak. It reverses, and nobody speaks of this science that brings it to the fore. Again, society needs to, put women in their place. so that I'm a daughter of disobedience. Everything that society, makes women conform to, I disobey. Because that is what emancipates me and gives me the agency.
Probably explains the divorce rates as well.
We'll get there. Kathleen, finish.
That is
Probably explains it.
Gives me, at least I'm speaking for myself,
Yeah.
it gives me the agency and the value that I have as a woman. But to come back to this conversation in terms of polygamy and the compulsoriness thereof, it is really important to situate some of these things in the priorities of, I'm from Cameroon, for example, and ask ourselves the question, why would anyone, in a country that has a raging war in two regions, in a country that has a 44-year term president, he's been there for 44 years, and the country has, tanked in terms of its economy, a country where, birth rates just rien ne marche.
It's only the two of you that understands that.
They're marching in the rain.
We're marching behind. We're going in a country where recently a video came out of us not being able to hoist a flag on a pole. Why would anyone get up and make polygamy compulsory? The answer is simple. Women must be kept in their places.
It was a woman that said so, though.
Yes, it's a woman that said so. That's the reason. Women are tools for putting other women in their places. But the second reason is we live in a society where people must benefit from anything that they put out there. Look, this woman has put it out there. And if you read the last bit of her article, it says, oh, if you need advice on how to go through this polygamous state, come and see me.
Meanwhile, she's one wife, one husband.
Meanwhile, she's one wife, one husband. Come on, you want other people to go through all sorts of nervous and mental breakdown while you benefit from it. You want to benefit.
Let's look at it. Let's just take a chill.
Right.
I know that if you look at this rather interesting cover feature, the stories that are there are a bit contrary to what we would expect. We'll see stories of like a man pouring acid on his ex in Douala, a rise in murders, road accidents, even dead triplets at Douala Hospital. We're talking about corruption, alarming violence against women, missing babies, being the daily realities. All these things are the things that are like center stage. Yeah. And it's a bit confusing that at the same time, there's a strong case for polygamy in the center stage smack of all these terrible things that I've just talked about. And that means there are always agendas to everything. Yeah. And that probably alludes to what Kathleen said about, pushing an agenda. And we found out that in Africa, women are enablers. The entrenched cultures or the entrenched situations that they themselves have been put through on the next generation. Yeah. Because it's like, I don't want to suffer alone. Everybody should suffer. Yeah. Just the way I have suffered. And that is why I find it interesting that this generalization is being made for African men. And there are so many things we talk about: foreign men, European men, Asian men, all the men's in this world. Why is it that this particular assertion or this want is an African man want? And we're the ones that actually says, oh, Africans, Europeans, we're all the same. Colors might differ, but
deviation in science when you get to African
physiologically, physically, men are made the same. Every man I have seen, even if not physically, at least I've met a couple of men from across the regions, across the world, that are just men. Why is this an African man thing? Because if they make this assertion, which I've heard Temisan allude to, that, oh, men are polygamous in nature, that's how we're made. How come other men from other climes are not wired that way?
Oh, but they are.
Or there's something wrong with the wiring of African men?
Oh, no,
I have never seen an European.
Lolo, do you know Mormons? Have you heard of Mormons?
It's a sect, it's a religious sect.
No, but they are white people, aren't they?
But they're a minority.
Says who? Have you been to Utah?
Yes,
they
like,
own Utah.
But in the continuous 50 states of the United States,
all I'm trying to tell you is that it's the same.
I don't.
Look, again, I said at the top of this show that constructs differ. The societies, if you look at the evolution of man, back in the day, it used to be a polygamous society. Then it evolved into being a monogamous society.
In Africa?
No, around the world. I'm looking at man's evolution generally. Now in Africa, before the white man came, we were a very polygamous society.
So you're saying that now men are monogamous intentionally? As in they're conformed, like you're holding foul wing and tying at the back and they don't have a choice.
Absolutely. Catherine, you see, and this is why the conversation between the sexes never goes anywhere. You know why? Because you see, in my opinion, when women have these conversations with men, you already come with a closed mind. No, give me a bit. You see, I'm amongst 5 beautiful, strong-willed women, and it's great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And it's beautiful. But you see, when a man is saying, this is what I think, women tend to say, oh, that's bull. That's rubbish. No. I'm not saying you're dismissing it.
No.
Not you guys. I'm just saying generally.
Yeah, honestly, right. So right now I'm sitting there, I'm trying to play the devil's advocate. But like I said, right, in a lot of your arguments, just what I see is a spoiled set of people who believe that everything should...
You're proving my point.
No, I'm going to explain.
You believe that?
I'm going to explain it. Because you are saying men are more visual. I've never believed that, by the way. I am visual and emotional. So if there's anything, I even feel it more. Yeah. Because you're saying that a man is attracted to a woman with tomato legs. I'm sorry, I just say it.
What we're doing here, what we're doing here is you're taking a man's point of view and argument and making a mash of it. You're basically laughing at the man. That's what you're doing.
I want to tell you how women feel in comparing it to how you have said men feel.
Right.
And I'm trying to tell you that if a man is attracted to a woman selling tomatoes, what makes you think that I'm not attracted to the mechanic under my car fixing it?
Maybe you are.
What makes you think that I'm not saying, oh, if you polish it? Yeah, I'm speaking for
I'm a man.
Exactly.
You're asking my point of view.
You said something, I think either on break or even now, that it's a man's world.
Yeah, it is. It's always been a man's world.
And the reason I think a lot of the pushback is coming now is that women are tired of hearing that they don't have certain desires that the way men do. They don't have certain, they're not visual like men are. I'm going to do MPM Mufasa again. And that we are not in some way similar to men when it comes to sexuality, desire, wants, adventure, variety. And so that to many women is where it becomes a difficult conversation to have. You want us, and I can acknowledge that polygamy has served a purpose to a point. Because even if you look at African history, polygamy was not just polygamy because of desire. Absolutely. It was polygamy because there was money, there was farming,
loads of reasons,
even polygamy itself was never a product of love. Sometimes, let's be honest, it might not necessarily have been a product of sexual desire, but it's sometimes in many places an economic need.
Many reasons. There are many reasons.
So that's why when you have this conversation with women, it feels like we're hearing you, but when we're telling you back that, especially in 21st century, I look at man the way a man looks at a woman. But I am constrained because I'm told by society that if I go up to him and I flirt with him, he's going to think of me in a certain manner. So you have to, that social construct you talk about. Men, it often feels like men refuse to see that part of this conversation.
Now this is a problem again. Listen, Kathleen, forgive me.
Kathleen. Perhaps that is even why there is this conversation also on this narrative about men cannot take what they give. This is probably why polygamy is legal in certain countries and polyandry will never be. Because like Tolu said, women are never heard, acknowledged, and validated for what they
I think there's a tribe in Tibet where polyandry works.
We're not talking about Tibet.
It happens.
About Africa, that's the context, of the conversation from our
own realities.
Metro Aqua. The thing is that in a society where you sit in parliament and legislate about what women should wear, what pads and whatever, without their voices, when they're not acknowledged for who they are. Like you've sat here and you've said, you know, men, I'm speaking from a man's perspective and therefore understand it that way. And we're saying we're not dismissing that perspective because we acknowledge that.
It does sound
you're a
dismissive,
man
to be
is a-
honest.
No, it's not. We're not dismissing that. But it's the same thing that we also ask for. In a world where men are heard and they are, you know, validated as men, we women want to be heard and validated as women. Therefore, if you're going to make polygamy, forget the compulsory. If you're going to even make it legal, you're going to make polyandry legal because Kathleen wants to marry 5 men too.
No, because we say what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
In such a way that Kathleen made some very interesting points. From the age of 40, women just become alive sexually.
Yes.
You just realize that there's some desires you didn't know existed that you had. And you're like,
they have to suppress it.
Suppress it.
I want to run with it.
We want it younger.
But the men at that age, you're just looking to douse that fire.
Now, hang on, ladies. You see, we have come to the point I try to make.
We're not attacking you.
No, I know you're not attacking.
You to
But come to the point I'm trying to make here.
I feel for him, by the way.
Yeah, because I'm the only one here. It's all right. See, we have come to the point I'm trying to make. When people say, I like rice, you tend to say, somebody say, why can't you like beans? Now, I'm not talking about societies gone before. We're talking about today. I do believe that women should have a voice in everything.
So as you support, support polygamy, would you support polyandry?
Good question.
Look, again, let me explain to you. Again, no. There are no yes or no answers. No. Hang on, guys. You see, you guys are, look, it's very difficult for, speaking as a man, for a woman to understand a man. It's extremely difficult.
Same here.
Exactly, so you can speak for yourselves. Now, here's the thing. A man says to you, I want to sleep with, I'm just throwing it out, I want to sleep with 10 women. He hasn't said the woman shouldn't go and try and sleep with 10 men. He says to you, I want to sleep with 10 women. A woman will come out and say, you see, you are evil and wicked. Wait, hang on.
Kathleen.
I haven't finished Kathleen now. Kathleen, wait. A woman comes up and says, you see, why can't you tell we women to go and sleep with 10 men? Woman, do you?
Okay.
If you want to sleep, fight for your...
for himself.
Yes, I'm thinking as a man, not for all men, not for all men. Now look at...
They can never
have these conversations. What's the perception there? You say you are for all. Like, listen, you don't like. Listen,
do what you gotta do.
What you gotta do.
So do you support it? Because that's a different thing.
Having a conversation.
He hasn't answered me. Do you support
Exactly.
polyandry?
I do not even support men cheating on their women.
But you support polygamy. Do you support
polygamy is not cheating on your woman.
Do you support polyandry?
Oh, come on.
I will have to think about it. I will have to think about it. I can't say yes, I support it because look, it exists. No, hang on, it exists.
It's adults doing what adults want to do.
Do
it's
you?
just changing.
Me, look, hang on, guys. You brought me here because of polygamy, right?
Not polyandry.
And not polyandry.
Cop out.
And I say cop out. Sociology, polygamy actually covers everything. Because polygyny is the man marrying more than one.
G-N-Y.
Yeah, polyandry is the woman. Polygamy is supposed to cover everything. But in today's world, we just take polygamy to mean man more than one wife.
Society is a function of the society.
Yeah, well, look, first of all, let me use the case of civil rights in America. When the blacks were fighting for civil rights, right? It was the blacks that took up the fight. They had a few white people join in, friends of the movement. Feminism as well. Women started speaking up, and you get men joining them. Allies of the movement. If women decide today want the right to marry more than 2, you should not tell me to be that for the fight. Fight for it.
So if we have to fight for it and you have to think about your support for it and other men out there, it's going to be hard because you don't support it.
But blessing, that's how it works. I have to think. I won't just say, oh, I like Tolu. Yes, Tolu, you're right. I have to think.
I need to come
think about it. Yes.
I need to think about it. So something else that she said in the article, which I found very interesting, is that at the end of the day, most African men are already practicing polygamy without having 2 wives in their homes, unofficially having secret relationships and infidelity. Let me quote what she said in the article. She said, approximately, I want to research, madam, 90% of African men live polygamous lifestyles, but with monogamous marriage certificates and church wedding attestation, which is purely 1 man to 1 woman. The 1 man, 1 woman form of marriage is the highest form of societal and religious hypocrisy. This is because African married men are patronizers and promoters of side chicks, baby mamas, and prostitutes. Thus, they are promoters of moral decadence and deviance in society. Polygamy should therefore be made obligatory in our laws on marriage because it is a form of marriage and not a lifestyle. Auntie?
In two ways, she just came out with guns, shooting men.
And she took on the church too.
And took on the church. Because, I mean, men should indict her. I'm surprised that more men are not coming out to say, Madam, Madam, Madam.
Who asked you?
Who asked?
Who said you?
Because in one breath, she's shooting men saying, the reason why you guys are adulterous and you are funding prostitutes and
paying rent,
you are
buying cars.
You are proliferating moral decadence is because you are with one woman. Then she turns around and says, oh, by the way, if you then go and marry many, many women, you are going to. So it's...
I don't understand that.
Wait. I'm going to finish. You are going to solve this problem. And what I want is not for you to just accept that legally you have choice to do so. Is that all of you must do it, even if you don't want it.
Yeah, I mean,
So like
compulsory.
little boy syndrome. Like you cannot make your own decisions. Therefore, I am advocating that we will make it for you. That is why, because we are making it for you, Kathleen must enter Temisan's house and join it.
Hey, hang on. Kathleen, if you're going with that, then, since it's me, it's not you I want then. It's as simple as that. Kathleen doesn't come to my house.
No, you don't
Temisan goes to bring Kathleen to his house. But that's a different argument.
Is clear that you guys are troublemakers when you are monogamous, and you are still a problem because you don't have sense enough
When you are
to know
polygamy.
that this is the solution for you. So
Number one, men do not cheat with other men.
It's
No.
Number one, men do not cheat with other men.
Don't do that. This is the 21st century.
Hey, if there are 10 of them, 9 of them are with other women. Whatever you say, whatever I want to say.
Okay, is it your
Nobody's got
wait, is it your truth or the truth?
It's my circle. It's what I believe.
It's your truth.
It's what I believe. No, hang on.
Let's move on from that.
We're moving on. We tend to think, or when women are making these conversations, they tend to think that it's men are the moral fabric of society. You men are destroying it. It's women that they do it with. So it's men and women destroying the moral fabric of society. It's not men.
Is true.
It's men and women. It's men and women destroying.
Everybody is.
Is this sandwich?
Now, number two is this. Again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Women should learn, in my opinion, to listen to the men. Now, you come with a preconceived idea and a notion, which is normal for most human beings.
Yeah.
Our default is we have biases.
Of course.
Sometimes they're subtle, sometimes they're conscious, sometimes they're subconscious. You have a bias. So what you do is, in an argument, you tend to listen. You're waiting for that person to say something you agree with or disagree with. Then you talk. So we don't listen. We just hear. Now, a man says to you, if I am in the other room with one woman for one straight month, first 1 week, I'm trying to be very, very...
Exactly, it's morning TV.
Yeah, it's morning TV.
Your dad, you can
Yeah.
strike as you need to strike.
Yes. First of all, my staff of office is very, very, very erect.
present.
It's very erect.
It's present.
12, 13 days later, it's no longer as erect. A time will come, it will be a struggle to get it up.
Is that based on the woman or based on...
No, hang on, I haven't finished. You see, you're hearing, you're not listening.
Asking, I want
Let me finish, yes. Yeah, listen. Now, that same... Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Now, that same scenario, right? That period when it's very hard for him to get it up, bring another woman in. Another one, fresh woman. The man is still tired. His staff of office will rise like crazy.
To the occasion.
To the occasion. It's not because of you or the other, it's him. Now, I've told you this. What do you all feel about it? You will argue with me because I'm telling you what he feels as a man. But the woman says that's nonsense.
No, I don't think it's...
No, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying the woman says that's nonsense.
I actually don't think it's
So
nonsense.
therefore, that's
because I think...
That's the old
So we're going to go into the marriage side of it and look at the proponents of it, but I think that's why I think women struggle because you've asked women to discipline themselves to face only one most times. And I don't disagree with you, but I think that at the end of the day, we need to acknowledge that both sexes, genders, Donald Trump, I don't know what you want us to use anymore, can want the same thing, but one has been boxed in.
Oh, yeah.
If you bring a new man to a woman who has been eating, who has been in the same room for,
She will rise
The
to the
bees of him would make it be so interesting.
So at the end of the day, we hear more from the men's side on this issue of desire, want of sex, and some other things.
Because women dare not speak.
But now you're
Women
speaking.
dare not speak.
But now you're speaking.
But let's take a
Anytime
break
you
because
speak about
I
it-
want to change this conversation a little bit to the marriage aspect. And you talked about the divorce rates because she also speaks on this being a way to stop the rising divorce rates. But why do you think African women are some of the people who are actually filing for divorce the most now? We'll take that up when we come back.
We're waking up.
Thank you so much for staying with us. A really, really great conversation happening in the studio. Now we're looking at polygamy in Africa. Is it still relevant? Following the publication of an article by a Cameroonian female lawyer, I'll make that point, who said that polygamy should be compulsory across the continent, that it would stop economic issues for women, it would help in terms of addressing issues around infidelity, prostitution, and the likes. And we can give you some of the data on that. I was looking at data, actually, in regards to this. The Pew Research Center spoke about how polygamy is practiced in many countries and says it's mainly in West and Central Africa, but also you see it in Asia, but it's not in the same form, which I found quite interesting. Even in a place like Saudi Arabia, there are lots of people who have only one wife. But at the end of the day, what they talked about was the structure. So I don't know if it's Cameroon or Burkina Faso. There's one country here on the continent where if you want to have a polygamous marriage, it must be agreed on the day you're marrying the first wife. And the first wife must sign off. If she does not sign off, you cannot come back and have a polygamous marriage. There's also another one that every time you want to marry a new wife, all the wives who are still with you must agree. They come to court and they must say yes and agree. And that puts some of the power in the hands of the women who find themselves in these polygamous situations. But a lot of polygamous marriages here in Nigeria and elsewhere don't happen like that. It is just someone being told that, Auntie, new wife is coming in. Whether you like it or not, she has packed in. Then the next thing you know, 2 years later. And there are a lot of pros, not a lot of pros, there are a lot of cons, a lot more cons concerning polygamous marriages than there are the pros. So let's quickly look at some of those. Now, this is just a bit of polygamy background from the Pew Research Center. It's banned throughout most of the world. Funny enough, they say it's just about 1% of the world's population that practices polygamy, and that in many countries, marriages are governed by religious or customary law, which means that oversight is in the hands of clerics or community leaders. It'll give you some more data as well. It's most often found in sub-Saharan Africa, where 11% of the population lives in arrangements that include more than one spouse. Most times, again, this is a man to multiple women. Burkina Faso is 36%, Mali 34%, Nigeria 28%. Let's get some more there. So, in the countries polygamy is legal, at least to some extent, Muslims in Africa are more likely than Christians to live in this type of arrangement, 25% versus 3%. But in some countries, the practice also is widespread among adherents of folk religions and people who do not identify with a religion. So let's just be honest here. At the end of it, Temisan, many men cannot afford even the one wife that they have. And please, people need to look at what is also on the screen. No, we also have the people who said pros. The effects of polygamy, emotional and psychological issues, neglect of children, financial burden, sometimes it even strife, disempowerment of women, higher risk of STDs, social stigma, inheritance conflicts, sibling rivalry, forced or early marriages, unstable marriages. These are all the effects that are documented. There's people who have proponents. But anyway, proponents of polygamy argue that it provides more people to share household tasks, more adults to bear financial burden, children have more peers their age for socialization, and polygamy can help ensure adequate birth spacing for each mother to recover. But you've seen the list of the cons of it. So I'll start with you, Kathleen, because time is gone. No? I'm struggling to see how polygamy is still something that we're sort of debating in the 21st century. Agenda must agenda. She made front page news. We're talking about it. But knowing what we know about it, are we still at a point in time where we should be having a conversation and not saying Africa needs to move forward? One of the parts of human evolution seems to be leaving polygamous relationships and focusing on monogamous relationships. So what do you think?
For me, the entire, there isn't a debate. Choice is choice where adults are concerned. And if you're going to embed choice in law, it's absolutely fine. We have some high-profile, polygamous marriages. The president of Senegal, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, has 2 wives. The president of Gabon recently, Brice Oligui Nguema, recently married another wife.
Making how many? No?
Making 2, I think it is. So there's high profile and there is that sense of, it works, and the choices that these people make for themselves, go with them. We also have some high profile cons, Mayule Doche, who said you can't come and drag me into something that was previously agreed and now you want to change because of culture and your own personal. So for me, the bottom line here is choice. Once you have the choice and you decide as a man in this case that you want to be in a polygamous marriage and the woman accepts, that's absolutely fine. I'm still waiting for the time when we're going to legalize polyandry.
Yeah, to balance it.
We need to balance this stuff. But if you're going to make that as, make it a choice, and then it becomes economically, you have to also balance the economy, you have to balance, maybe the spirituality, the health components, every other thing, and make those choices, sane choices for people, then I'm absolutely happy with it. It can never be compulsory. You can never make people, be in a covenant that they don't want to be be in. It's not done. I think that Maitre Akwen should go and sit this one out and stop trying to gain relevance where relevance is. The entire article is a distraction to me. We need to focus on the things that matter on this continent. And the real things that matter are not what happens in people.
As much as you say the real things that matter, parts of the negative effects of polygamy end up being social issues.
Exactly,
because he barely mentioned something, but there's also a power dynamic. When more influential men can marry more wives and more younger women, it becomes a social strife issue like China is seeing. China is seeing men actually going to different villages to kidnap women. Even in India, because you chose boy children, it was a policy, and in India it's a social something. You now have an imbalance of men and women in some of these countries, and it's leading to greater parts of violence. That's what the research is showing.
So first of all, see again, we're forgetting something here. There are women who actually genuinely like to be in polygamous relationships. They are. Because you don't like it. Forget even Muslim women. There are women who actually enjoy, because you see, you mentioned something about the world moving from polygamy to monogamy. In fact, I'll go a step higher and tell you the Western world is moving from even getting married to just having relationships.
That's another.
Now you see, here's the crazy thing about it. It's a cycle. It's not just having relationships. Now they're promoting polyamory. Have more than one lover at once. Let's all live together.
At the end of the day, it's already happening.
There you go. You see, so it's a cycle. Now again, we can. Kathleen and all of you are saying, on the continent we have pressing issues. You can walk and chew gum. You can decide to discuss polygamy and relationships and still solve corruption. It's not just one thing.
No, but it's not gum at the end of the day, because it's also as important as corruption. Because
exactly.
Again,
so you can discuss everything.
My WhatsApp is
polyandry. Do you see us getting there? Ultimately, polyandry.
It will start in the West. I can see it happening.
Goose is good for the gander.
It will start in the West, and if it starts in the West,
in Uganda, it's just not legalized. In Uganda, you have.
Mais ça arrive, là.
You have.
Good Lord.
The challenge I'm having with this polygamy, polyandry thing is that polygamy is allowed in many, it's legal in many spaces. But polyandry is not even spoken of. It's illegal.
Yeah, but in Tibet, I don't know about Tibet.
Stop it.
But even it is, I'm just making,
and there's a part of Kenya. There's a part of Kenya. There's a part of Kenya as well.
If it is something that is there, it's still based on what Kathleen said, it should be an adult choice thing. They shouldn't make polyandry like an illegal thing. If it is the choice you want to make for yourself, you should be free to make it. But men cannot take it.
So I have comments on my WhatsApp, I have comments on social social media. I wish I could take. There's somehow going to be a part 2 of this conversation.
We have to.
Because Temisan just touched on something we couldn't get into around the issues of marriage, and people now choosing, they don't even think they want to get married.
Yeah.
So like, we're not providing enough good examples for them.
DOP, so Thursday.
Oh, good Lord.
They're going to kick us out. All right, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.